Steve, long time no see. Yeah, I was just telling Melanie we got to hang out at a meetup last year, last winter. So good way to meet lots of people. We will get to things here shortly. Give everybody to give people a chance to get logged on, anyways. So thanks for those couple of you that have already hit the thumbs up. Our $1 million question today is why Pahrump, why Quartzsite? Because it's that time of year, right? I mean, it's starting to, fall is approaching. We often don't get much of a fall or a spring up here in Wyoming. It's often summer and kind of goes straight into winter, more or less, without much of a, whoops, sorry guys, without much of a gap there. But it looks like we might actually get some fall this year. But it's time to start as we start seeing the weather cool down. Today is in the 80s. It's our last 80s in the forecast. After that, it's all 70s. But the nights are going from like 50s down to 40s and then down to 30s. So it is cooling down. Somebody looks like she's not excited about that. So it does get that time. Last year I stayed in Wyoming until into October, and I think it was about around the end of the first week, start of the second week of October, we had a major snowstorm, like a foot and a half of snow, and it took days for that to melt. Which it did warm up again, fortunately, but then it took days for that to melt off, and then it was mud. It took a few days for the mud to sort of dry out, so I could finish some projects I had to finish, like greasing the wheel bearings on the trailer and stuff. And then finally, I was able to get on the road. I got on the road. I left for Lollapalooza actually, the day before another storm was coming in. So it was supposed to hit like midnight. I left at like 4 in the afternoon. I pulled out of Gillette and headed south. Drove all the way to southern Colorado in the first haul, and before I stopped at a rest area, I was just trying to get away from the weather. So you never know. Hopefully we miss all that, but it is that time of year where things are cooling down, and we're starting to think, okay, pretty soon we're going to have to, figure out exactly where we're going. But yeah, the it seems like there's always those last minute projects, and it is that time when we start thinking about it. So obviously, Pahrump and Quartzsite are on a list of places we're thinking about. Um, let's see. So nomadic weather bearer says, why not? Yeah, exactly. That's kind of a good default thing right there. Steve says, indeed, it's time. Beth saying hello. Steve's doing last week prep on RV, and Beth's saying hi, Melanie.
Hello.
So we got a long list. I mean, my to-do list is never done anyways, but we definitely have a list of projects. We've been working on getting the roof resealed just preventatively, and then the wheel bearings are on the list again. Um, I have Dexter axles on this rig, and they recommend every 12 months or 5,000 miles, and I think I did about 4,000 miles last year, and it'll be a year next month. So definitely going to do those before we hit the road, just to stay safe. Not that big of a project, but just one more thing. So lots of projects to get tackled before we head out. But then, yeah, we're discussing that. Where are we going? And where are we going first? Where are we going second? Um, so Pahrump is always at least on the discussion list of maybes for fall, and sometimes is on the definite list. Quartzsite is on our definite list. We know for sure we're going to be down there. I don't know yet. We don't know yet if it'll be like all winter or for a short visit. I mean, we're not sure, but we thought it'd be fun to talk about some of the reasons that we like to go to these two places. We have both been to Quartzsite and Pahrump many times. And matter of fact, we first met in Quartzsite many years ago. But we've both been to both places many times, and so we thought we'd want to talk about the reasons we do that and the reason a lot of other people do it. Because anytime we do mention something like this, either online or especially offline, the people who aren't nomads or snowbirds, you often get the question, why? So, sort of like I have a granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter. She's gotten into that relative pronoun phase, and so this summer, I mentioned to her that yeah, we're gonna go to the rodeo because Melanie's never been to a rodeo, and she'd never seen these events, and so the oldest granddaughter says, "How?" And while we were traveling out east last month in August, we were driving through Indiana one morning, and the phone rings, and granddaughter number one's on the phone, says, chatting for a minute, then, "Can you come over to the house?" I said, "Well, we're in Indiana." There's dead silence. Why? Okay, so we hear that exact question though when we tell people, well, we're going to Pahrump or we're going to Quartzsite. Here, why? Why are you going there? What's so special about that? Because a lot of people are not snowbirds, and some who are, but they tend to think of going on vacation or traveling to popular destinations, and they don't generally include places like Quartzsite or Pahrump because their needs might be different, and I think their objectives might be different. Gregory Jones, hello, thanks for joining. Curtis, hey Curtis, how's it going? Thanks for joining today. Steve saying they're doing the cutest winter at La Posa. Oh, all right. So yeah, we thought it'd be fun though to talk about some of the reasons we often end up in Quartzsite or Pahrump or both. And before I do a quick announcement, some of you may remember back in the spring, I was participated with a off-grid bundle program where I think at the time we had 40 or 60 different ebooks and courses and things that were all available for one low price. We're doing it again. Participating again, and this time there's more than 100 different ebooks, guides, and online courses at the same low price of $50. So that's less than I sell my own digital course for, and which of course is included in this, the online course, Nomad Lifestyle 101. That's coming up starting on Friday. I think it's Friday. So that'll be coming up. So if you're looking for like a ton of information, a good library of resources, you might be interested in that. But we'll share more about that coming up when it starts. So more than likely we'll be spending time in Pahrump and or Quartzsite, more than likely in Pahrump and then Quartzsite and then Pahrump again in the spring. This year we'll share separate videos later when we're there and show some of the things we like in each place, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because Melanie's got her places she likes, I've got my places I like. So a lot of times they overlap, sometimes they don't. We have our own distinct preferences sometimes about things, and so we'll share some of that when we're there for real in each place. But for now, yeah, Melanie, why do you were saying earlier why you think these are valuable
Well,
or popular?
both of them have some pretty consistent weather, and at least for the winter, and they actually have a lot of resources for people who are traveling. So there's things close by. So that's what makes any of these better than some other places. And they're also smaller. You're not in a huge city that you're trying to navigate around as well. So
Yeah, that's it. And let's see, go ahead, rub it in when your parents are hungry down in the cold Northeast, my father's saying.
oh yeah, gotten cool
You're
already.
gonna come down for vacation, come down to visit.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, why, we'll start with Pahrump then. Why Pahrump? You want to kick this one off?
Why Pahrump? Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of resources around. I'm looking at notes, so that's did you want to go through? Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
It's the only Pahrump in the world. Ah,
We have notes.
it is. We do
Make
have
sure we don't
notes.
forget anything.
Yeah. So it's one of a kind. There's actually no other Pahrump in the entire world. I think Pahrump actually means water table, isn't it?
Okay,
Or
I'm
something
not actually
like
sure
that,
about
or
that.
water rock. I'm trying to remember because it is actually a little valley and it does have water, and that was kind of unique when you're in southern Nevada. So I think that's why it originally became a town. I don't think it's incorporated or anything, but it's
It was, and I think they unincorporated.
Oh, it was. Oh, okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
they're a
it
little
is
more
unique.
independent.
If you type in Pahrump, you're only going to get Pahrump. You type in Tonopah, for example, your GPS is going to try and send you to Tonopah, Arizona, if you're trying to go to Tonopah, Nevada,
Right.
because it gets confused because there's two Tonopahs.
Right.
But and that confuses people who only know one of them too. But Pahrump is Pahrump. It doesn't need a state.
Yeah.
It's just Pahrump. And it's just fun to say. How can you not want to say Pahrump-pum-pum? You just got to break into song every time you say it, right? At least I do. She's handing the notes to me. I think she's done. All right. So,
Wow.
why Pahrump? Here's a fun fact. The locals like to say Pahrump is 50 miles and 50 years from Las Vegas. It might be catching up on the 50-mile part. I mean, the 50-year part. It's sort of catching up on the 50-mile part because they're growing
Yeah, I
closer
figured it was
together
more
due
than
to
50 miles.
expanding
It's an hour
suburbs.
drive.
But that's 50 miles over the mountain, which unless you're in a four-wheel drive or an ATV, you can't do. It's more like 60 to 80 miles for everybody else if you're driving off pavement.
Yeah.
But it is kind of behind Las Vegas. They didn't get phone service or paved roads until I think the 50s or 60s. It was late. I mean, surprisingly
Yeah.
late. So
Yeah.
it's definitely kind of a step back from all the excitement of Las Vegas, for better or worse, will depend on your perspective. For a lot of people who go there, that's for better, though. Okay, let's see. Gregory's saying he got the package looks lots of good stuff, even with only half. Yeah, I rarely promote anything because but I felt like this was such a good deal that I mean, basically I'm like, hey, you got my course for less than normal and all this other stuff, and it's even better this time, which is crazy.
In your books,
Beth
all
saying
your
she
books.
escaped Northern Hampshire and never looked back,
Yeah.
and thought she was the only one who does the drummer boy.
Yeah.
Isn't there an abandoned trailer park with just the paths near Pahrump? There is. The one I'm thinking of, I'm assuming
Death Valley.
you're referring to, is near Death Valley, which is
Yeah.
it goes
Not too
between
far.
Pahrump and Death Valley, and I think it was a trailer park. I hear people debate about the ownership or provenance of the land these days, but it's abandoned, and people do camp there, and it's kind of funky because there are literally a bunch of cement pads, and you can just camp there. No phone service, but it's fairly close to Death Valley, kind of in between there and Pahrump. So,
I've got a little phone service. There's like a little hill up behind the
man, don't tell
pads.
people that; they're all going to want
Okay.
to go there now.
But it was very,
She's spilling the
very little.
beans.
It's very little.
All right, there you go. Now you know. All right, weather. Another good reason. Weather. There we go. I'm off the line here. Another good reason people go there. The elevation officially 2,697 feet. Obviously, that's going to vary a little depending on exactly where you're at. But that's roughly around 2,700 feet, which is higher than the desert. It's lower than a lot of other areas. So if you're like coming from the direction I'm coming from, you're often going through Utah, and you get Cedar City. Utah is pretty comparatively cooler, and you get to St. George, it's warmer, but it still gets pretty cold in the winter. And then you drop down to the corner of Arizona into Mesquite, Nevada, and it gets downright hot because Mesquite's really low. Come back up to Pahrump, it's a little more moderate. So point is, anyways, is that Pahrump is a little more moderate than, a little bit cooler than some of the lower desert elevations, which makes it a great spot spring and fall and spring, however you're looking at that, because it's not quite as hot as the desert, but it's quite a bit warmer than a lot of other places, and it's actually, in my humble opinion, too dang hot to want to be there in the summer or even late spring or early fall. So there's kind of a limited window of time when I like to go to Pahrump. I have been there outside of that window, but there's a limited window when I like to be there. There's also a limited window when I like to be in Quartzsite. My preference for Pahrump is like about the 1st of October, roughly, until basically October, November in the fall, and then again maybe sometime in February into early April in the spring. So roughly 6 to 8 weeks in the fall and 6 to 8 weeks in the spring. I find the weather pretty nice. You can be there all winter. Some people do. I have, actually. I haven't spent the entire winter there, but I've been there most of the winter a couple times. Enough to say I got a good idea of the winter weather. And it's certainly doable. It's certainly better than Wyoming or Massachusetts or upstate New York or some other places I've lived. But it's very hot in the summer, and it's tends to be kind of cold, windy, and wet in the winter. So, which is why a lot of people continue south to Quartzsite or Yuma or Baja for the coldest winter months, the middle of the winter. But not everybody. There are people who stay in Pahrump year round, and they tough out the winter, which is not that bad, and they tough out summer, which is kind of bad. But if you got air conditioning, I mean, is doable.
Yeah, I didn't think winter was that bad there. I mean, it did snow maybe a couple times, and it got below freezing. So if you have lines you're worried about water and stuff freezing, you do have to kind of be aware of that. It does freeze, so if you're there all winter, you do have to be aware of that, so you don't have any burst pipes. So
Yeah, I did not have the trailer when I was in Pahrump. I did not make it to Pahrump at all last year, which was the first year in 5 years or more I did not. 5 or 6 years probably I did not. I went straight to Quartzsite last year via Texas, and then came straight back from Quartzsite back to Wyoming because, well, family thing. Was my presence was needed up here, so I came straight back and didn't make it to Pahrump. But normally I do. But I've been in the van, so I haven't had to worry about the freezing temperatures with the RV thing. So another one, Melanie. You got another one you like. This is your item.
oh, the scenery. I thought the scenery is pretty, especially if you go. That's the Spring Mountains, I think, that's
Yeah,
surrounding, and there's Charleston. Charleston will usually have snow on it all winter, so it makes for some really pretty scenery. So
Which I love, actually.
yeah,
And particularly, yeah, looking towards the Spring Mountains. It's a little bit tongue in cheek here, but a lot of the rest of the scenery in Nevada, you can go north to south, and if you're not paying attention, you can think you never moved. It's like the Twilight Zone, because it's desert, but you've got these little wrinkly hills.
yeah.
They look like
valleys
they look like wrinkled paper.
Yeah.
Like, see, if you crumple up paper, that's kind of what the mountains look like. But if you're not paying attention, you can think you haven't moved, because they kind of look the same. But Mount Charleston is high enough that it does have snow on it a fair part of the year, certainly through the winter, and that's really majestic looking.
It is
Pretty
yeah.
neat. So I do enjoy that. And if you go up into the Spring Mountains, they're very pretty. And of course, there's Red Rock Canyon not far away, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. But there is some interesting scenery there. Curtis is saying there's lots of flies at the pads. I have not actually camped
Are there?
at the
Oh.
pads. I've been there and checked it out a couple of times, but I haven't actually camped there because at the
I've
time
been
I was
there.
going
I've
back and
camped
forth to
there.
Death Valley, and that's when I stopped and checked. But I was already staying in Pahrump, so it was like it just wasn't going to save me that much time to have like no phone service and for work and stuff, and so I just went back to Pahrump. But it was closer. So if you're not already staying in Pahrump, or if you have a vehicle that gets particularly bad fuel efficiency, like and gas is $5 a gallon or whatever, then that could definitely be something to think about.
Yep.
My mother's logged on now. She's late, but here now. So. Best say it sounds like North Dakota. They feel like you haven't moved.
Yeah.
I've joked the same thing about South Dakota occasionally going through Beth, and I'm like, I just can't only ever think I'm going across at 65, 70. I don't drive 80, but so I'm cruising across with a cruise control on, and it's like the scenery's not changing. And all I can ever think is like, can you imagine coming across there on horseback or on wagon train or something like that, where you're making like
Endless, yeah.
a few miles a day? I mean, it would be like weeks between the few changing. But yeah, North Dakota's the same effect. Might even be worse than South Dakota as far as that goes. But I haven't been up there in a while. But I do recall it being pretty flat. And you been up to North Dakota?
North Dakota, I have not. No. But
Apparently, we have to
I
go to North Dakota
understand-
now too. So
I understand Nevada
Thanks,
because
Beth.
I've gone through that valley to. But
I
think it's
guess I
pretty.
notice
I
it.
like it.
I guess I notice it in Nevada because as a video guy and photographer, I'm always looking for different scenes. And so you've been trying to find different scenes to put in your background for videos, and it's like it all looks the same, other than like Mount Charleston. Everything looks the same in the background of a video. Now, I mean, there is differences when you're close up and stuff, but just as far as the landscape, it really kind of looks pretty similar.
I like the wide open spaces, so that suits me fine.
There we go. That's the first time I saw the 80 mph signs in South Dakota. I had to stop and take pictures.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I learned to drive in Massachusetts where the speed limit was 55.
55,
I remember when they raised it nationally to 65, and there was a little blip on the interstate in New York, upstate New York, between Massachusetts and where my grandparents had moved to in upstate New York, and that was 65 for like a few miles. And that was so exciting making that trip up there because I could drive 65 somewhere. So I think 65 is cruising.
Oh,
And
yeah. I think you get better fuel efficiency at that point. Anyways.
definitely
If you
better
go
fuel
faster,
efficiency. It's safer. I
and
mean,
just don't
it's
waste
just,
gas.
yeah. So I just drive slower.
So,
It's easier on the
you'll get
vehicle,
there.
but yeah, I know I'm a little bit of an anomaly there, but Beth's saying, you're welcome, stop by and visit with her. So, Oh, Steve's in South Dakota right now. I forgot you guys go up there. And we went through South Dakota last month, Steve. Actually had pretty good weather when we went through.
Yeah.
I've
Lots
been
to
through South
see.
Dakota. It was like 105
Definitely want to go back.
in August. But you want to go back?
Oh yeah, there's
She
so
wants
much.
to go back. We
There's
we
so
did.
much we missed. We didn't get to see.
We went out through Nebraska, Highway 20 across Nebraska, and saw so much we want to go back and see again. Came back to South Dakota, so much we want to see again. We did detour. We got a video coming about it. We did detour up to DeSmet to see the Ingalls Wilder homestead,
Yeah.
which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So we saw some fun stuff, and we just have to go back again because we definitely did not see everything. Let's see. My mother is saying, oh, let's see. What do we got here? Gregory is saying North Dakota doesn't even have a wall drug signs to break things up. Yeah, Melanie's acquainted with that now.
Yeah.
We went there too. Got a little video coming from there. Or actually, I think it's South Dakota in general, maybe. Of course, we stopped at Badlands. You know, I had to do that. So, my mother's saying a few miles a day across South Dakota would definitely be Twilight Zone like. Beth loves the wall drug signs. North Dakota, there's nothing in the middle and east. Oh, mailing address is DeSmet. There we go. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Cool. That's we actually did not get into the town. We meant to,
I
and
know. We missed
we didn't
that
quite make
part,
it into
but-
town. We came in from the south. We did find some lovely town. Oh, Steve's 30 miles from DeSmet. Oh man, we were in your neighborhood. Oh, we didn't plan that good, did we?
Oh well. Next
I
time.
know. Next time we'll get back to South Dakota for sure. We'd actually thought about getting over there earlier this summer, making like a trip of it, and then as it ended up, we went out east, and so we just did two different routes, and it was. I think by the time we were getting back, we were kind of. We'd been on the road for a couple of weeks at that point, and it was like, all right, it's time to get back. Oh man. All right. So, anyways, we're getting distracted from Pahrump here. Y'all wanted to know why we like or why we go to Pahrump. We didn't even say we like it. We just said we go there.
You like it? I like
She
it.
might like. I'm just saying we didn't actually say that. I just realized that I'm overstating. So, Steve said they got family land there. That's cool.
Oh, awesome.
That's neat. All right, so another one. Lots of large fuel stations that are accessible to big rigs. That's another reason that it's popular. Is just because it's Let's face it. We've all been places where it's a little hard to get our big rigs in and out of. It's sometimes just hard to get a van in and out of. I've seen some gas stations in our recent trips I wouldn't take a Prius into.
And if you want to fuel up before you go to Death Valley, if you're coming that way, I think that's probably smart.
Then there's that, because
Yeah.
gas is not cheap in Nevada,
Gas
or
is
including in Pahrump,
in
but
Death
it's definitely
Valley.
cheaper than California.
Yeah.
Apparently, the issue there is, I was reading this recently, because I've always scratched my head, why the heck is gas so expensive in Nevada? And apparently the issue is they don't have any refineries in Nevada, so all the gas in Nevada is coming from California refineries, and California refineries, of course, have to comply with California regulations for the cleanliness of the fuel, or whatever the additives they put in, the blend, there we go, to make it, least polluting possible, which adds to the cost. And since Nevada's gas is all coming from California, you're paying for that, even though they don't have the gas taxes as high as California. At least that's what I read. So, but it is more expensive there than a lot of other places, but is definitely cheaper than California. So, very good point. If you're heading to Death Valley from Nevada, make sure you gas up in Nevada, unless you just like lighting your money on fire. But there are lots of large gas stations there too. Not all of them, but there's a fair number that are pretty big.
Right.
There's a lot of big rigs around there. So, and speaking of filling up, you want this one?
What's the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, the water refill stations. Yep. Yeah. So there's the water kiosks. There's several throughout the town, so you can fill up with water that you need to, especially if you're going to Death Valley. You're going to want to do that. Yeah. So, and I think that's pretty reasonable. Pretty much what it is anywhere else to fill up with water.
Lots of water there. Yeah, and then my personal favorite kiosk, they got them at like grocery stores and all that kind of stuff, inside and outside. There'll be the Glacier water dispenser. My personal favorite one is there's a couple of standalone kiosks, and there's one right on, what is that road? The main road through town.
160, I think.
160?
Yeah.
Whatever the main road is through town. Yeah,
Highway.
don't yell at us if we're saying it wrong. Maybe some of you remember if you've been there. I'm not looking at a map right now, but like beside the Smiths, in front of the Burger King, behind the pawn shop, next to the Golden Nugget. Yeah, in that little plaza, there is a standalone kiosk, something a windmill or water mill or something like that. But
Yeah.
anyways, you can get bulk ice there, which is great if you're using a cooler, and you can get water by the gallon or 5 gallons. And the last time I was there,
Is it 5?
it was 25 cents a gallon or $1 for 5 gallons.
Yeah.
So pretty good,
So
and you can refill your jug. All my jugs in a cart into a Walmart or a grocery store and finding out either they don't have a machine or it's broke. And then you got all these empties you got to haul back out again. So, yeah, you can fill it right up there. You don't have to bring them very far. And so that's the one I use the most often.
I
But there's
think
a bunch of them around.
Yeah, Albertsons has one.
Albertsons
too,
has
I
glacier
think.
water outside. Yeah,
I'm not
yep.
sure about Walmart, but
They do inside. I don't remember about outside.
okay.
So, yeah, so there are a lot of them there. And that's really convenient if you need water and you're not like the RVs where you want a hose. You just want to get a gallon or 5 gallons at a time.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
convenient.
But I think you can also go to the RV parks and fill up.
I've heard that.
If you, need a hose to
I
fill
haven't
up
done it
your-
there, so I can't say it, but
onboard
I've heard
water,
it.
so.
I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to go drop my quarter in the machine and. Well, that was, but the one I'm telling you about also has dollar bills. It takes dollar bills,
Dollar
which
bills.
is convenient. So, yeah. Let's see. I'm understanding they love the North Dakota Badlands. I was there once, many, many years ago, and I need to go back. Maybe I was there twice years ago, but it's been a long time. So I need to go back again. You probably haven't been there if you've
Never
not
been
been to North Dakota at all.
No.
So the thing, it's getting ratcheted up. We're going to have to go to North Dakota next year, not this year. We're running out of summer. All right. Multiple grocery stores. Believe it or not, snowbirds, nomads, we still have to eat. You can tell I still eat. All right. Anyways, we still have to eat. Lots of grocery stores. There's at least 3 big ones that I can think of. There's Walmart, there's Albertsons, there's
Smith's.
Melanie's grocery store.
Smith's, which is the Kroger. So if you do have like the
She
Kroger
likes them.
card, because I have a Kroger card, it'll work at Smith's, Fred Meyer's, Fry's. They're all Krogers. So
In fairness, they have the best bacon ever.
they do. Yeah. Well,
What's the name of it?
I'm trying to remember. It's like chili green hatch bacon. You
On
can get
second
it at
thought,
the,
don't tell anybody because they're going to go buy it. We won't be able to find
It's at the
it.
meat counter. It's really good. It's thick. It's
And it's
really
technically
good.
$7 a pound, but it's usually this at least for the last 6 months it's been on sale for $5 a pound in Pahrump and up here in Wyoming, whenever we've been. So
yeah.
really good bacon, thick cut. My granddaughters say they don't like it because it's too crispy.
Too crispy.
Said no one ever except for my grandchildren, but okay. Anyways,
But anyways, the Smiths also there has the gas station. So if you do go shopping at the Smiths, you can get a little off at the gas station they have right there in the parking lot. It's not very big rig friendly, but if you have a smaller rig, it's
it's
very
not
easy
even
to get
Prius
in and out.
friendly. It's an awful parking lot.
Oh, it's
Tell the
not
truth.
That bad. It's not that
Tell the
bad.
truth.
The hard part is if you want to go. If you're going out and you want to go left, because there are no
Don't.
street
Do
lights
us all
on
a favor
160,
and don't.
that's
Just take a
always-
right and go turn around down to the
Yeah.
Sonic or something.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Okay.
But there's also a grocery store that has just Mexican, I think, meat and other things, and I can't remember what it is, but I'm sure if you put in like a Mexican grocery store, you can probably get that up too. That's a little more off the beaten path, but it's if you're looking for something like that, I've heard they had really good fajitas and all that sort of stuff. That's you cook yourself, but it's all spiced. So
I don't know about that place.
Oh, well.
There you go. But there are multiple grocery stores and
do.
apparently some other specialty places, which isn't surprising, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's I think about 30,000 people or so. I'm off the top of my head here. So it's if you haven't been to Pahrump, it's a
Yeah.
good size city. It's a small city, but it's a good size city, big enough to have some stuff like multiple grocery stores,
Yeah.
including some specialty ones apparently.
Yeah.
My father saying when they went to the North Dakota Badlands, my mother actually took a picture of a pile of buffalo dung. Talk about a tourist. That is touristy for sure.
I suppose as long as you don't frame it and put it on the wall, or fine.
So also laundromats. This may sound like, why are we mentioning that? Because I've been a bunch of places in recent years in my travels where either they don't have a laundromat or they used to have it and it's closed. That's been a surprising thing. Especially small towns, but even small cities, there just aren't laundromats anymore. So there are several in Pahrump. It seems like most people who are there have their favorite and they have strong opinions about it. My favorite is actually not the biggest one. I prefer one of the smaller ones just because it's less crowded. No matter what laundromat, anywhere, I always go first thing in the morning, and that definitely applies in Pahrump because there are enough people there, but it seems like things don't get going too early. So if you can get there when they first open, you can kind of have it to yourself and get out of there. So
that's very true.
I'll come back in a few moments. Let's see. Can you? Okay, you want to talk for me? I got to do a quick email here.
All right. They also have big box stores there, so that's another thing. Their Walmart there, and it's a big Walmart, so it also has the grocery store. I'm not sure if it's 24 hours or not, but definitely they have some RV stuff. There is the Home Depot, so there's other. That's another big box store. I was trying to think of the other. There's another hardware store in town. It's like Do It Yourself or something, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. But they also have a pretty good variety of RV things, and the parking lot's a little weird. It's a little on the frontage road there, but I find they're very friendly and helpful. So so that was another thing that they have. That they have other retail services. I was trying to think of next to Albertsons and Walmart. They're all in the same size. There's other stores in there too, and definitely lots of restaurants, which we haven't got to yet. I guess that's lower down. But anyway, so that's good. There's multiple propane refill options. There's Shoshone, I think, actually has its own. That's all they do is propane, so they'll even fill up the larger sizes. There's Horizon, and then Tractor Supply also has a propane fill. So if you need the propane, there's a few options there. I have actually never been to the public library there, so I feel really bad. But Robert has been to the public library, and I guess there's plenty of places to sit. It's a large building, and they have good Wi-Fi. So that's
they also have decent parking. There's a
have
smaller
good-
parking lot that's
Okay.
pretty good size. It's fine if you're in a car or something. And then there's also like a gravel parking area out towards the road. So if you're in a bigger rig, you can park out there too. So sometimes you can hit the Wi-Fi from outside, but don't hold your breath.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. All right.
At least in
all
my
right.
experience. Maybe they've changed something since then. But yeah, the Wi-Fi is decent. Plenty of seating inside. So it's a good resource if you're in town.
Yeah, because I've heard that I haven't had any problem with the cell. The cell's been pretty good, but I know Robert said the cell signals in certain areas can be a little dim, but all the areas I've been in, it's worked for me. So I don't know what your comment on the cell service in Pahrump.
Coverage is generally good. It can be slow at times. Not Quartzsite slow, but we'll get to that. But it can be sluggish. But that's true of the internet in general in
Right.
Pahrump. I've heard even a lot of business owners complain about that there. That you remember the thing about it being 50 miles and 50 years from Vegas? Well, sometimes
I
internet
think
can
when
be
it's
slow.
crowded, I think when it's crowded, you're going to have problems like anywhere. So
But as far as coverage, yeah, it's very good in Pahrump. It's flat.
yeah, yeah,
So there's you don't have the problems of.
the towers can.
We were
carry.
back home visiting recently out east, and back in the hilly, twisty turny,
Yeah.
wooded northeast,
Yeah.
cell signal comes and goes
Yeah.
as hills are in the way. You don't have so much a problem with that in Pahrump because it's a big valley, and so it's very flat. Slopes very gently up towards the hills on either side, but it's a big valley, so cell coverage is pretty good for any major carrier at least. Okay, what are we on to here?
Thrift stores.
Oh, Melanie's favorite.
So that's my favorite because I like to thrift, and there's several. They do have a very large Goodwill there. It's really busy on the weekends, so I wouldn't suggest you go on the weekends, but they have definitely clothes, and you can get if you need sheets or towels or something like that. And you didn't want to go to you know, Walmart, whatever, they got stuff there, and it's fairly reasonable. It might be a little more than some places, but the Goodwill's not too bad. And there's a Building 160. I really like that. I mean, you want to talk about, you can find all sorts of stuff there, especially if you're building something. They're usually only open on the weekends, last time I knew, but they're right off of 160. And then there's a few, I think there's one on Mance that benefits an animal shelter there, so that's a really neat one to go to. And I mean, I got a really nice little oven, like a tabletop oven there once, and you know, it's covered with, it's a lot of it's outside, so it's covered in desert dust, but for $20 it was perfectly good, and it was a convection oven. So I've got a lot of good things there, and they have an indoor area too, and you can get all sorts of your sheets and pillows and towels, and as well as some clothing. So yeah.
Thrift stores are a big deal if you are on a tight budget of necessity, or if you just want to, you prefer to be frugal. There are places that don't have thrift stores. We've had this conversation a few times up here in Northeast Wyoming. Somebody saying, "Well, we go to the thrift store because there aren't any." Why do you donate to a thrift store? Because there aren't any.
Kind of
Now, we do have a consignment store.
So,
I mean, I'll give it that.
And there's
but
a
it's a
couple
little more
other,
expensive.
like,
It's not, the prices
things I
aren't
haven't
like
explored
the
yet.
thrift store. When I used to live up in Billings, Montana, we had multiple thrift stores. And some were a little more expensive, some were cheap, but you could make your way. And we had like a ton of pawn shops, and so you had lots of options for resale stuff. We had a Restore, Habitat for Humanity restores.
Those are nice.
There were lots of options if you wanted to save money. Not quite as many down here, but and I say that not to pick on Gillette, but to point out that some places don't have that. So if you're trying to live frugally, places like Pahrump provide a lot of options for that, from big box stores to thrift stores and things where you can save money.
Yeah. So those are good options.
And no state income taxes.
Right.
We did have a question here about taxes. Does Trump or Nevada have personal property taxes, like an annual tax on cars and RVs? I don't believe there is any kind of personal property tax. New Hampshire has their excise tax or polling tax, is it? You got something, poll tax or something.
They have an estate tax.
They have an estate tax. Massachusetts has excise tax. I don't believe Nevada does. Nevada does have, they do not have state income tax. They do have sales tax, which can be kind of high. Then, of course, there's like lodging taxes and stuff. They do have business taxes. They like to advertise the business friendly and all this stuff. Them in Delaware. Wyoming is far more business friendly than Wyoming. Wyoming is far more business friendly than Nevada or Delaware could ever hope to be. Nevada will nail you with very mandatory business licenses that are very expensive to get with annual renewals and stuff, and kind of cumbersome. So there's some things like that, but I'm not aware of personal property taxes. Vehicle registrations are more expensive than some places. Your auto insurance you will pay more money for. Maybe if you're in a really rural area, but even in Pahrump, when I went to Pahrump for a year and a half or so, my auto insurance went up like 50% from Wyoming. Wow. Same company cutting back the policy. Wow. So, yeah, there is that. But I'm not aware of a personal property tax down there. So it is a state still in an area where a lot of people go to live frugally if they're on a budget, and to live inexpensively. So it is possible to be fairly inexpensive there.
Yep. All right.
What do we got here? Post offices.
Multiple post offices. So
multiple post offices.
So that's nice. If one's crowded, just go on to the next one. So
yeah. I did not know that for several years.
Yeah.
Their main one I don't like to go to because it's crowded. The parking lot's pretty bad, and it tends to be crowded. Not always, but it tends to be crowded. After several years, a local resident, finally tipped me off that there's other ones. And I think there's like 7.
Is there 7? I wasn't sure how
6
many.
6 or 7. I think it's 7. There's
the
a
ones
lot.
I've been to, they do have P.O. boxes, and I'm assuming if you're there for long enough, you can probably rent a P.O. box. So,
yeah. So I have one in particular that I like because it's small and has a better parking lot and, is usually not busy. So,
yeah.
But yeah, there's lots of post offices. That's a novelty. Gillette, we have one post office, and it is downtown. The parking lot is hideous. The streets around it are hideous. Frankly, the staff isn't that friendly for the most part. I don't like it's dirty. I don't like going there. But there's no choice if you have to go to the post office. So, you have options in Pahrump.
Yes. Which brings us to
Which
mail
brings us to,
messages
oh
and
yeah,
more.
options to the post office. Yes, like mail messages and more if you're in Pahrump. There's actually a few mail forwarder package places in Pahrump. I have used mail messages and more for, I don't know, years now. 4 or 5 years probably. And been very happy with them. It is a family-owned business, but there is a succession arrangement. So, like, I'm aware of situations where something happens to a owner or operator of a mail forwarding place and there's no plan of succession, and you're in trouble because all of a sudden your mail thing is gone and you're scrambling. And that should not be a problem with MMM. I'll try and remember to put a link in the description later, but if I forget, leave me a comment. I'll definitely get it to you. But they're a very popular one in Pahrump. They do a good job. They also
And
have
they
some
have
self-storage
storage.
there, but
Yeah,
it's always
storage
full.
there too,
I
so.
mean,
Yeah, there's a few other places that have storage too, and that's the other good thing. That's about it if you need to store something for a short amount of time. I had to store my car for a little bit, and I did it down there, and yeah, it was great.
all right. Multiple car and RV washes. Not all of the car washes are going to fit RVs, but they do have multiple car washes, and at least there's a couple, I think, at least that will fit RVs, or
Yeah.
trailers, schoolies,
Anything
whatever.
that's high, truck
Which is
camper,
nice.
whatever.
'Cause
Yeah,
not every town has that.
yeah. Yep.
So
There's yours.
this one's mine, I guess. Lots of restaurants. Melanie behaves and doesn't eat out very often. Once in a while, I twist her arm to go to a restaurant, but generally speaking, she's pretty good about that stuff. I like restaurants, and lots and lots of restaurants in Pahrump, including my favorite, El Jefe's. There are other good ones, I'm sure. I just don't go to that many, even though I go more often than Melanie does. I don't go to that many. So El Jefe's is one that I enjoy and have been to multiple times over the years. Good balance of service and food and prices.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did bring Melanie there once.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. What did I have? A burrito or something? It was good.
They have a wet burrito that is worth getting if you ever go. Get the wet burrito.
All right.
I'd go for the verde sauce instead of the red. That's just my personal recommendation. Yeah.
You get the chicken? Is that
I go with the pulled chicken.
Okay.
Yeah.
chicken?
Yep.
He always
There you
eats
go.
chicken.
Tell them I sent you. Maybe they'll give me a discount next time
There
I'm
you
there.
go. All right. Computer.
Oh, there's a computer and phone repair shop, Master Tech. It's right on that main drag through town. I have had them work on my computer, and they did a good job. So I don't know if there's other places or not. I know there's the one. And if your phone breaks or your computer is acting up, it's good to know that because there are places that don't have such services. So there you go.
Yeah, I've never tried them, but it's good to
It was a lifesaver for me when the battery in my laptop got so bad that I couldn't use my laptop anymore, and I needed it for work. So they were able to get it in and get it fixed. So inexpensively, and it was reasonably, very reasonably.
Yeah.
A lot less than I thought it was going to be.
Good.
So.
Good.
All right, proximity to Las Vegas, if that's your thing, for entertainment or big city services. Bottom line is, you can get most of what you're going to need in Pahrump, but if you can't, well, Las Vegas is an hour and change away.
Yeah.
Personally, I take highway, I go 160 up to 95 and go across, and I go to North Vegas because I can find anything I want in North Vegas and don't have to go all the way into Las Vegas, which I think is a win. I can get in and out quick, like if I need a Verizon store or a Best Buy. I can go over there, hop off the interstate, and within a few blocks find what I need and get back out of there nice and quick. But if you want other entertainments, it's all there. You're not far away. So.
Yeah, I've gone into, I think Summerlin. I think that's the name of it in Vegas.
Okay,
and
yep.
They have a Toyota dealership, so that's the reason why I've gone in there before, because if you have a recall or something, they'll take care of that. It's busy, but if you make an appointment, it's not too bad.
So here in Gillette, we don't have a Toyota dealer. You can go to Casper or Rapid City or Billings, but
Yeah.
Actually, Pahrump has more services than Gillette does, I believe. So, all right.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
proximity to natural resources. And I'm not sure if that's the best way to say that, but, things like Death Valley National Park, Red Rock Canyon, and so on. Spring Mountains.
Yeah, you
So,
gotta get your hiking.
Pahrump itself is just a little town in the desert, in the desert valley, but there are some cool things around. Ash Grove,
Yes.
or Ash Meadows.
Ash Meadows.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ash Grove is in
that's a
upstate
cute
New
one.
York. Okay, Ash
Yeah.
Meadows. So there's some cool
Yeah.
stuff around within an hour's drive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or less.
All right.
Okay, speaking of cars, things break, unfortunately. And there are mobile auto and RV techs in Pahrump, as well as traditional techs and repair shops
Yep.
and tire shops.
Places and.
But yeah, there are
Yeah.
some mobile ones as well. So there is definitely are places you can get things fixed there, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah, Walmart even has a little auto center on there, so which you can line up and get tires. That's where I've gotten my tires
Get cheap
before.
tires, yeah. That's
Yeah,
usually
cheap tires,
the cheapest tires.
not the greatest, but they do have actually real tire shops. So.
All right, what was this one you had?
Oh, pet services. Yeah, I used to have a little dog, so I used to have to take him in to get his nails trimmed because they would get too long. But they had some good, a couple of good ones I went to, and they're very fast and easy to just, do a quick nail trim. If you want some more kind of grooming, then you might have to make an appointment. But yeah, they were good people.
Okay, so in addition to pet services, there are lots of RV parks in Pahrump. Doesn't matter to everybody. Some people prefer to boondock, but if you want hookups, there's lots and lots of RV parks. Or if you're looking for a place to spend a month get your resident domicile there, there's lots of RV parks, and they're usually pretty affordable compared to a lot of other places. Some are fancy, some are not so fancy, but there's lots of options there. I did a whole RV park tour video covering every RV park I could find in southern Nye County a couple years ago. That included Pahrump, Amargosa Valley, Beatty, at least those anyway. So I forgot to put a link in the video description. I'll try and remember that later. But that is on the channel. If you search for RV Park Tour or something, you'll find that. If you're interested in such things, there's also contact information, I believe, with a list of them in the video description on that video. So lots of RV parks. And on a related note, Pahrump is a good option for nomad domicile or even permanent residency in the future. So if you're looking to make it Nevada your domicile, Pahrump's a good option to do that. And if you're just looking for a place to settle down, Pahrump can be a good option for that. It is a place where you can live somewhat affordably if you need to. Unlike that list we did yesterday in a news story about best places to retire, where they had lots of expensive places, Southern Nevada in general has a lot of inexpensive places where it could be good to retire.
Yeah.
And that includes Pahrump.
Yep.
And we just got to mention this. It's not my thing. It's not Melanie's thing. But if you're into vices, well, they've got cat houses and casinos and herbs. Can we say it that way? We don't want to say a bad word on YouTube. And liquor in every grocery store and convenience store you can imagine. So if vices are your thing, you can find it in Pahrump. Okay, there you go.
There you go.
The elephant in the room, okay? We said it. Downsides, nothing's perfect. That includes Pahrump.
Showers, yeah.
If you like showers,
If you're not in an RV park and you're doing the boondocking thing, I think the Horizon,
one of the Horizon
market has showers.
I've
I haven't
heard
been
it's
there
cheap.
myself,
I've
so-
heard it's works. I haven't tried. Call me skeptical. It's just the outside of the building was such that I'm like, I don't think I want to go in there and take a shower. Maybe the shower's cleaner than the outside. I don't know, but if I don't say it, somebody's going to wonder why I haven't tried.
Yeah.
It just scared me off, okay? I know people who have used it, so that's the only place I know of in Pahrump. So outside of like RV parks and things like that. So that is a downside in Pahrump. There's BLM boondocking there, and it's getting crowded. I've been going to Pahrump for 6 or 7 years now, and it has definitely gotten more crowded in that time. Partly because everybody talks about it on the internet like this. I'm giving you some downsides. Don't go to Pahrump. There's enough people there already. But it is getting crowded on the BLM boondocking. So if you want to camp there, you know, if you want to go further out, you know, not have phone signal and stuff, it's not so bad. But everybody wants to camp on the edge of town and have good signal and be close to town. And it's getting crowded. It's like an RV park without the utilities. You can see the utilities. You can see high tension power lines, but you can see radio towers, but yeah. All right. And there's a lack of high quality or advanced health care in Pahrump. So if that's a need for you, you will be going to Vegas. There is a small hospital in Pahrump. I don't have any personal experience with it. I know a few people who do have some experience with it, and their results varied from, this is anecdotal, their results varied from, what I've been told is, it varied from pretty bad to okay, but definitely not advanced. You get sent to Vegas for anything big. Vegas. So if you need advanced health care or serious health care, you know, I can't speak to it personally, but yeah, it's there is a hospital. It's just not very big. So, all right, there's some comments here. Let's see. We're going to touch these real quick before we dive into Quartzsite. Let's see. My mother is saying she'll never live down. Not down. I think she means the buffalo dung laundromats are very hard to find. Beth saying, I found if you pull out to the left with a pickup with a full 8-foot bed and a 40-foot long gooseneck RV livestock trailer, traffic stops for you. That must be the secret. See, Melanie's in a Prius. She's got to watch out for.
Bully your way through, right?
Steve was saying we told the laundromat secret time. Yeah, best. So yeah, right hand turns are hard when you're that long to make lots of wide lefts. Yeah, I'll do that a lot of times, even with just a fan. I just go right and turn around and come back. It just, you know. Yeah. Let's see. Northern New Hampshire, I had to stand on a 6-foot ladder in the branches of an apple tree by the driveway to get a tiny signal.
Oh,
I have been places like that, including in the Northeast. And that's what happened in South Dakota. The mail forwarding place closed. No explanation just before I sent them my stuff. So went to DeSmet. Yeah, I'm glad that worked out with DeSmet then.
Yeah.
I have heard that a few times. Once in South Dakota, I heard about one in Pahrump, actually.
Yep. Yeah, I heard about the one.
Yeah, so it does happen. So when I went with one myself, I just wanted to make sure there was some kind of, hopefully it would survive if something happened to the owner or something. And they appear to have that address there, so hopefully that's not a problem. Steve had the same problem and switched to Sioux Falls. Okay, we on the Quartzsite? Oh, bottom line, Pahrump checks a lot of boxes for snowbirds or long-term lifestyle traveler. That's the key. And Melanie mentioned earlier, when I was saying why Pahrump, why Quartzsite, she said checks a lot of boxes. And that's the key. When you start thinking about it, so we went over some of the benefits and stuff. A lot of places don't check so many boxes. Where I'm at in Northeast Wyoming does not check so many boxes. I just have kids and grandkids around here. Doesn't check very many boxes. I would not be here if it were not for the kids and grandkids. No offense to Wyoming, but as a nomad or a traveler, it doesn't make the most sense. It's not a bad place. It just doesn't make the most sense for my needs as a traveler, but I have family here. So, but Pahrump checks a lot of boxes. And I'll be honest, initially, I first went to Pahrump, I'd heard about it from other nomads. Kind of negative stuff, bad stuff, wasn't that great. So I had a bias. And the first time I went there, we arrived late at night. We were picking up a trailer, arrived late at night on purpose because it was hot in the summer. Overnighted up in the mountains, into town, out of town. And I was like, it wasn't like as bad as I expected when I heard, but I wasn't impressed either. I said, yeah, why do people come here? What's the big deal? There's nothing exciting about it. Then I had to go back for work later and spend some time there and went back again. And before you know it, it grows on you. Maybe like a fungus, but it grows on you. And before you know it, you're like, yeah, this isn't so bad of a place. Then it's like, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to getting back to Pahrump because it checks all the boxes and it kind of feels kind of like home in a strange way. And, so it grew on me. And a lot of people say the same. So it's not that it's fancy. It's not that it's a destination place for a lot of people, but for snowbirds and travelers, it really checks a lot of the boxes and kind of grows on you after a while, I guess. Just because it checks so many boxes. You can travel in a lot of other places and it's a pain, and those things aren't a pain other than getting a shower or advanced health care. it's pretty convenient. But if you're in an RV park, you don't have to worry about the shower thing.
Yep.
All right. What about you? Have you been to Pahrump? What was your experience? Let us know in the comments or in the chat, and weigh in, and it can help other people. So it's not just our humble opinions. All right. That's Pahrump. Why Quartzsite? Again, quoting my granddaughter. Why? Showers, unlike Pahrump. We'll start with that.
And they're quite nice. The tiled ones at the laundromat are really nice, and they'll provide a towel for you, and I think you can get soap and stuff like that too. So
It used to be you could run over to Ehrenberg and get showers that were cheap. Not quite
right.
nice, but cheap.
Right, cheaper.
Cheap. Well, $8 if you paid one at a time, and you bought your shower tickets, which I still have some in my wallet, even though the place is gone now. I think it's reopened, but it's different. They don't do showers anymore. I still have tickets. You can buy, check it out, like $5 or something. And Mark was great, man. You go back the next year, you're like, oh, I still got a ticket from last year. Is it still good? Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Quartzsite has showers, so that's a good thing. Laundromats.
Yep. Yep.
If you like to do laundry,
I'd say go
or
early
even if you don't
in the
like to
morning.
do laundry, but you have to do laundry.
Yeah, if you're a crowded time of year, definitely go early in the morning, because otherwise there may not be. I've waited in line for a dryer before, so it's busy.
Very
It is
fun.
busy.
Now, I have been over. I used to go to Ehrenberg a lot. I used to camp in Ehrenberg a lot, but I used to go to Ehrenberg a lot too to do laundry.
Right.
Well, I also had mail in Ehrenberg. The
Right.
mini mall, man, it was a one-stop shop for.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's gone and it's different now. I think the laundromat's closed when I heard too.
We'll
But
have to visit when we go.
we'll have to go check it out. Yeah, they had the laundromat. Only half the machines ever worked, but it was cheap, and you could do laundry while you were getting your cheap shower.
Yeah.
You could get your mail while you were there. You could kibitz with Mark. You could
Yeah, they
get
had
some
water.
overpriced groceries, water. Yeah, all kinds. It was a great place. So, anyway. Craig was saying, I got a shower at Ehrenberg laundromat once.
Yeah.
It was admittedly one of those places you go in and go, how long has that been there in the corner? You know, so you kind of wanted to maybe wear sandals and not touch anything, but you know, all right. Anyways, it's gone. We can tell the truth now. You know. All right, temperature. It's a good winter option most times. I want to emphasize most. Elevation in Quartzsite is officially 879 feet, according to Wikipedia, the fount of all internet knowledge. So again, obviously it's a little higher or lower in some places, but around 800, 900 feet. Cooler than Yuma, warmer than Pahrump. So cooler than Phoenix, because everywhere on the planet other than Death Valley is cooler than Phoenix. But you know, so it's a kind of an in-between. It's a good winter temperature most of the time. Sometimes like parts of December, parts of January, it can be kind of cool. We had a spell that was like rainy and cold. You weren't down there last year.
I was
It was
not,
rainy
not
and
last year, but
cloudy
the year
and
before, something was
50s,
very
and I mean,
rainy.
it beat Wyoming. I mean, don't hear me saying it that, but it wasn't like 70 either. So if you're chasing 70, you might get frustrated sometimes midwinter in Quartzsite. But you can only go down to Yuma or Baja or, you know, whatever, over by Phoenix or something. You can get a little warmer, but generally speaking, it's a good winter temperature. I don't get there till after Thanksgiving, usually the 1st of December. I don't leave. Now, last year I did get there the week of Thanksgiving. It was a little cooler than some years, but usually 1st of December, and I'm out of there sometime in February. So winter's usually pretty good though. Vendors, if you're into this kind of thing, not everybody is. I usually walk around once. Anyways, it's entertaining, and you can find just about anything you could possibly want.
Lots of
And all
art
these
stuff.
sidewalk tent
Yeah.
vendors all
Yeah.
over town.
Yeah.
Including Melanie's favorite.
The dented can store. Yeah. I call it dented can store. It's probably some better name, or
Oh, I
they
don't
have
know.
their own
We had
name.
one in Vermont we called the Scratch and Dent store. So
The
it's
scratch and
the
yeah.
same effect, yeah.
Yeah, so you can get some things that are food, groceries, basically, that are expired sometimes. So you don't have to kind of look, but some of them are they're just dented or a little
Sniff
torn or
test.
whatever. Yeah. So you do have to be kind of careful about some things, but it's good. It's really cheap, and I don't know. Yeah.
You spoiled that secret now.
I did. Oh, okay. it was pretty busy. That's another place that's pretty busy, but I think I'm trying to think if they only take cash or something like that too. I'm not sure.
I
They
did
might
not put
take.
this on a list. Something aware of. Quartzsite, it's getting better, but a lot of places still only take cash, or they may charge an extra fee of several percent
Yeah.
if you use a card. And you'll find that a lot of small, rural places still, a lot of sidewalk vendors, yeah. So it's not a bad idea to bring cash.
Yeah.
Same if you go down to
Mm.
Algodones, there are places, a lot of places will take cards, but your bank may squawk, or you may have to pay an additional fee for the international transaction stuff. So cash is king. All things RV, next on the list.
Okay.
Quartzsite very much caters to RVs and vehicle travelers. Pahrump does, but Quartzsite really does. So if you're looking for somewhere that stuff is normal, even people live there in RV parks year round in RV or motorhomes and travel trails. It's just part of the culture. It's totally normal, totally normal. So you will not be looked at weirdly if you're there in an RV or something. So that's cool. Lots on a related note, lots of RV parks and RV services like water, dump, propane, all the things you need to go with RVs. You're going to find plenty of them in Quartzsite, which is a reason it's popular because you're not looked down on, you're not looked at as you're weird, and everything you possibly need you're going to find there, from vendors to services like water and propane and dump stations. You want the next one?
Again,
you
lots
talk?
of lots of gas stations. But yeah, the parking lots are smaller and sometimes crowded. Yeah. Ehrenberg, if you got a big rig or a bigger rig, you might want to go to Ehrenberg. I think there's a 76 and a Pilot or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
off.
Go to the Pilot. Leave the 76 for me. Okay.
I forgot what exit that was, but anyways,
One.
it's on 10. It's on 10. Okay,
One.
I-10.
I-10 exit one. You can see California,
Yeah,
which is why it's so crowded because everybody from California comes to Ehrenberg to get cheap gas,
yeah,
cheaper gas.
cheaper gas. So, but otherwise, we've gotten gas in town before, and
It's not bad in a regular
not
vehicle.
bad.
They can be crowded. I prefer the gas stations over by exit 19 in Quartzsite. That's the if I'm going to get gas in Quartzsite, there's a Chevron and an Arco. I usually get onto the Arco. It's a little further from the interstate, and so it tends to be a little less crowded. Some of the other ones, like the ones at exit 17, are very, very crowded, and I just don't like crowded gas stations. So that's just me. Maybe it doesn't bother you, but yeah. But a lot of times I'll just go over to Ehrenberg, or I'll get gas when I'm happen to be somewhere else like Parker or whatever for supplies. But yeah, that's they can be crowded. I think as a comparison, I think Pahrump has more larger gas station parking lots, which is more big rig friendly. But you're certainly going to see a lot of big rigs in, you know,
Quartzsite.
Quartzsite too. So grocery stores are in Quartzsite, as is a small hardware store. They have a Family Dollar and some other one of
Dollar
those dollar
General.
type store. Dollar General is it? So you got basic services there, basic stores.
Or maybe not.
You're not gonna get bargain prices, really. I mean, you know, and you're not gonna get huge selections, but there is stuff there. Most people for serious shopping go to Blythe, California, if that's your thing, or if you want to stay out of California, which a lot of people do. You can go up to Parker, Arizona. You can go, which has a Walmart and a couple grocery stores. You can go up to Lake Havasu City. That's not my thing. I don't go there. You can go down to Yuma or even over to Phoenix or Buckeye at least, for bigger stores and services. So it's a little bit of a ride. You can get basics in Quartzsite. Some people do just get by with what's in Quartzsite. It's not like you can't do it. You're just going to have limited selections and oftentimes higher prices because it's a small town and it's a tourist place. It's packed, so but you can do a relatively short drive. Plan on driving 40 to 80 miles if you need bigger services. Put it that way.
Yep.
Community, if that's your thing. I gotta get Melanie talking more. Community. A lot of people go to Quartzsite for the community. There's so many RVers. There are so many nomads. So many snowbirds. There's a lot of people there, and it's not hard to meet people. There's Facebook groups so you can meet people. You can just go meet people. I mean, it's people everywhere. It's you drive down I-10 and you start seeing what looks like RV parks in the desert, and there's just people everywhere. So there's lots of people. A lot of them are friendly. You can meet people. So a lot of people like that about Quartzsite. Other people go there and try and hide and be left alone. But you can, if it's just your thing, you want to meet people, that's a good place to do it.
Yep.
You want to do the next one?
Nomad events. So most of you probably know there's the RTR, the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, and there's other, I think the Escapees also has a meeting there, usually in January, I think. So yeah, you can meet like-minded travelers and definitely learn some things, like at the RTR, and yeah.
Yeah, we actually met in Quartzsite at a meetup.
We did?
Deborah Dickinson's meetup
Deborah's.
years and years ago. Might have been our second one, maybe, or something. It was back
That
in
was
the
the
early
first
days.
one.
They've since been moved. It could have been the first one, yeah. Okay. They've since been moved to City of Rocks.
Yeah.
In New Mexico, or at least they were last year and this year. I can't speak for what Deborah's long-term plans are for that, but she's doing them in New Mexico these days. But yeah, the time they were in Quartzsite at Rice Ranch, and that's where we met. But yeah, the RTR is there. There are a bunch of other meetups, informal and formal, around Quartzsite during the winter. There's like the Schoolie Palooza's there, the
Yeah,
Boondoggers
that's right.
Bash.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff. So you want to
None
go
of those,
to
but-
some of these events. And of course, there's Descend on Bend. There's other ones at different places during the year, but there's a lot of them are concentrated around Quartzsite. So if that's your thing, you can go to non-stop things, non-stop events in Quartzsite pretty much. What else?
Where are we? Oh yeah, the RV sales. Yeah, if you're there for the big tent, which is usually in January, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yes,
January,
and,
third week or so.
You can tour all sorts of RVs. If you're looking for a big rig or something, they do have some smaller ones, but new. They're all new usually, but at least you'll get to be able to pick someone's brain of the salespeople there and get to know different brands and all sorts of things. So yeah, it's a good resource that way if you're looking for that.
Yeah, if you're into that sort of thing, there are you'll see lots and lots. And even if you just want to browse around and get an idea of what's out there, there's lots.
Yeah, and you might find something used too at that time of year, because if you go on Craigslist or something like that, there might be a Facebook group. You might find someone who's just selling their own rig at that time too. So
Yeah, and rock hounding and gem hunting and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Again, if you're into that sort of thing, gold prospecting, if you're into any of that sort of stuff, we know people who are. There's a lot of that going on around there. Me, I just stumble over the rocks and go, there's a pretty rock. The granddaughters would like that one, but I don't really know what any of them are.
yep.
Natural resources for hiking and stuff. You got like the Kofa National Wildlife Refuge just south of Quartzsite.
Yeah.
You've got, what else you got? Like up around Bouse, you said there's a lot of.
Yeah.
So there are some places you can get out and hike. There's Cibola Wildlife Refuge
Yeah.
over along the Colorado River. That's actually, I believe there's parts of it on both sides of the river in California and Arizona, I believe. Anyways, there's lots of, there are, in addition to this RVing, there are things to do if you're into other,
Yeah.
activities like
Outdoor recreation.
Yeah.
LTVAs.
that. LTVAs, that's a big one for
Long-term
Quartzsite and some of the
visitor.
surrounding areas. There are 7 or 8 different LTVAs. The one in the La Posa in Quartzsite is actually 4 parts of it. I always considered it 4 LTVAs, but apparently BLM considers it 1 with 4 different parts. But anyways, huge LTVA area. $180 for 7 months. That's from like September 15 to April 15. You will never catch me in Quartzsite boondocking in September 15, and you will never catch me boondocking in Quartzsite on April 15, or anywhere near on either end. But you could if you wanted to. You can stay for 2 weeks for like $40, but it's $180 for 7 months. Boondocking, they do have vault toilets. Some there's like I said, there's 7 or 8 LTVAs. Some of them have vault toilets. The ones in Quartzsite too. I believe all of them have dumpsters. Certainly the ones in Quartzsite have dumpsters. LTVA South, La Posa South in Quartzsite has an RV dump, and they have a Blue Boy dump, and they have dumpsters, and they have what they call freshwater fill.
Okay.
I've seen people literally ruin drinking water bottles, after filtering that water. So you will never catch me putting it in my RV. Some people do though. It's apparently some years it's better than other years. I don't use it. I'm not taking a chance on it, but I just pay for water. But it's there. I also know people who only put it in their grate, in their freshwater tank, to use for like flushing the toilet and stuff. but they use separate jugs for fresh drinking water.
Oh.
So do what you want with that. There's water at La Posa South. But it is a bonus. That's one of the things that draws a lot of people there, because most places you have to move every 14 days, more or less, depending on where you're at. COFA, that's only one. Is it 14
for
a
the
year?
whole year?
I think,
Yeah,
yes. There are.
so-
That's even a lot less, obviously. So there are places where it's a lot less. I've seen places that are 5 days a year or 5 days a month. So check the rules. But as an alternative to having to move all the time, which some people like, and if you want to move, that's fine. But some people just want to be able to sit still for a few months, and the LTVA gives you that. And when you figure the price of fuel and the convenience of trash and water and RV dump and all that, it's a pretty good deal, I think. Another one is proximity to Los Algodones, which is horses in Mexico, just across from Yuma or Winter Haven, California. You actually have to get there through California, but it's basically close to Yuma. You know where that is probably. People go there for prescriptions, dental, vision, and other things, including just for tacos and stuff, because you can get really good tacos for cheap. She's gonna go down for tacos
I've never
this
been
year,
there,
even though she
so
doesn't.
I don't know. He
Fish
says he's gonna
tacos?
get me there
Oh,
this
yeah.
year, so we'll see.
And then you get at the one place I go, Lupita's. You get a taco or a burrito, and it includes a Coke in a glass bottle.
Oh, there you go.
So anyway, it's convenient to that. It's like 80 miles or 90 miles from Yuma and Los Algodones, so it's not far. So it's a good jumping off point if you want to run down. So solar electric vendors and services. If you need to get solar on your rig or you need to get solar parts and supplies, you can definitely do it in Quartzsite. If you want to pay somebody to do it because you don't want to do it yourself, you can definitely do it in Quartzsite. So there's that. And this was yours. Go ahead.
Oh, easy access for I-10, so it's
Right.
right on the main highway there. So
Yeah, you got 2 exits off I-10, 19 and 17. So yeah, whether you're boondocking, going to services, it's right there. It's easy to get to. Yeah. So it's kind of in the middle between Phoenix and Los Angeles. So some people just end up stopping there because it's not so much to camp there, or not for very long, but it's just kind of like breaks up a big trip between cities. But for snowbirds, they go there because of the RV culture.
Yeah.
And everything. So, and it is easy to get to. You don't have to go far out of the way. Where Pahrump is kind of off the beaten path.
a little bit, yeah.
A little bit. All right. There are some downsides to Quartzsite, just like with Pahrump. The crowds and the traffic chief among them. Particularly in January. It's not so bad up to about Christmas.
Yeah.
Not so bad in February. After Christmas to the first of the year, it starts picking up. January, it's pretty crowded. I mean, it really is. That's like their peak season. This is like summer in Cape Cod. This is like, I don't know, pick your tourist spot. January's their peak. And it gets crazy. It's not bad early in the morning. I'm not trying to stereotype here or anything, but whatever the thing is with these RVers in Quartzsite, they don't get out of bed early. Or at least they don't go anywhere early. They don't leave camp early. So if you go into Quartzsite at 8 in the morning, you got the town to yourself. I mean, you don't have to stop at the red lights. Do stop, but I mean, you know what I'm saying, hopefully. It's deserted. It's a ghost town. By 10 o'clock, it's picked up. By noon or 1, you don't want to be there. Or I don't want to be there, at least. So I go in the morning early if I have to go in, and that's not bad.
Yep,
But yeah,
I agree.
it is crowded in January.
Yeah.
Like bumper to bumper traffic crowded. Like multiple light cycles to get through a red light crowded. Cell data is bad. And I mean bad with capital B, capital A, capital D during peak season. And many times it may be unusable. Best case scenario is going to stink. It's going to be deplorable. It's going to be back like your 3G days for most of the winter. But there's going to be times you can't even use it. And that's, Verizon seems to be the worst, at least the last year or two. AT&T may be a little better. If you got like Sprint or T-Mobile, that may be better yet because they're less common. It's a problem. It used to be you'd go to the public library, they had passable internet, but that's been deplorable the last couple times I tried that. It's just bad. If you need internet, you probably don't want to be in Quartzsite in January. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I don't know if
Do yourself a favor.
if Starlink works down there that far south. Or
Haven't
not.
had a chance to try
So,
that yet.
I'd be curious about that, but
Yeah,
don't have it,
I would be
but-
curious.
yeah,
That would be nice.
that would change a lot of things.
Another potential downside is the weather. We said it's good most of the time for winter weather. It is, but it is a short, and like bad with cell data, it's short as in capital S, capital H, capital O, capital R, capital T season. At least I think. There are people who go down there early and they stay late. I'm not one of them. I have friends who go down there when it's in the 90s and love it because nobody's there. And if you can tolerate the heat, that's probably cool. But yeah, it's a short season when the weather's tolerable. And it can be quite windy still, which can be annoying, like when it blows you away, blows you over, blows all your camp stuff away, starts a dust storm, but it's just short season. Like I said, probably, I think 1st of December to sometime in February at most. It's about a 2.5 month window where the weather is tolerable. And after that, it's just too hot. It's too hot before that and too hot after that. For me, you have to make your own decisions on that. But it is the desert and it does get hot, so that's kind of a downside, is that it's short season. The post office is a downside in Quartzsite. I've never been to the Quartzsite post office. Why? Because I've been by the Quartzsite post office. I've seen the parking lot at the Quartzsite post office, which had no asphalt left because it was full vehicles. They were parked on top of each other in the Quartzsite post office. I've heard enough stories from people who were there. I've heard from people who were in the parking lot of the Quartzsite post office when fist fights broke out over parking spots. I'm not exaggerating. Now, I didn't see that, but I was told about it by reputable people. So I don't go to the Quartzsite post office. I've never been. I go to the Ehrenberg post office. They're friendly and they're glad for your business. Everybody I've ever heard has been to the Quartzsite post office left with the impression, much like I have from the Gillette post office, that they don't want your business. They wish you'd go away. So I don't go to the Quartzsite post office. That's a downside if you have to get mail or send mail. You ever been there?
I've only been to the outside little blue box to drop off some mail that I already had, and it was, kind of crazy trying to just walk across the parking lot and not be run over. So,
all right.
Yeah,
there you go.
It was
Kind of crazy outside
Didn't go
without getting
inside,
over.
though.
This is from the woman who tries to be the defense attorney for the impaired driver. We'll tell you that story later.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is says it as nice as it can be said.
But
Melanie
there's
has
quiet times.
has been to quiet times.
So I like quiet times.
We have different opinions
you,
there too.
You can receive packages there. It's like $5. I don't know if that price has changed. Last time I knew it was $5. And I think they're nice people. You may have to wait in the line a little. They got a great selection of postcards. They got other kind of they'll fax something to you. They'll copy something for you. I think you can scan things. So they're kind of a Kinko-esque kind of place. So anyways, I've had good luck with them. Parking in the front of the building is terrible. Go behind the building. There's more parking there. And they have a back entrance. So, and they also have this cute little Christmas tree area. They have all decorated for Christmas. And
All right.
I think that's
Kinko-esque,
fun.
you heard it first here on this video podcast.
He doesn't like
You've
them.
not heard it anywhere else. Kinko-esque.
Kinko-esque. Yes.
That's great. I've only been to quiet times once. I've been by a bunch of times, and every time I go by, I say, why? Why that parking lot? Now, as far as I'm aware, there is no sign that says park around the back, because you can't park in the front. Because there's only room for 3 vehicles, and then you have to back into an insanely busy road.
And if the UPS guy is there, it's
And if
even
the UPS
worse,
guy
so-
there, forget about it. Now, if I had a store on a street like that, first of all, I wouldn't have a
Keep
store on a
driving
street
around.
like that. If I did, I would have a sign that says, you can park around back, go around back. Don't just go by and leave, go around, park around back. If there's a sign, it's hidden. Because I've never seen it. I did not know that till this morning when Melanie told me that. So apparently there's a sign. I don't know. Apparently
I
there's
don't know
back
if there's
parking.
a
I don't think there's a
sign,
sign. There's apparently back parking.
There's back parking.
You can't park there unless there's parking in the back you don't know about. You can't park there. I've only been there once, And frankly, they acted like it was a zoo. And when we finally got up to the counter, they acted like they really didn't want our business. So I've never been back. Because, that first impressions thing, you take your life in your hand getting parked. We parked illegally in somebody else's parking lot because it was the only way to get in. And they pretty much didn't want our business. So now, maybe it was just a bad day. Could be a bad day. That was my impression. The parking lot's so bad, I'll never try and park in it again. The staff acted like they didn't want me there.
Oh.
Fine. We're 0 for 2. I won't be back. That being said, it is, when I went by last winter, there was a for sale sign out there. So I don't know if it's just the building or the whole business or what. So they may not be around anyways.
They may not even be
so
around.
Your results may vary. is your mileage may vary. This is a travel channel. Your mileage may vary. You may be like me and go, I'm never going back there again. You may be like Melanie and say, it's cute, and it beats the post office. I won't go to either one of them. I go to Ehrenberg or Parker.
Okay.
I drive 40 miles to Parker or 17, 18 miles to Ehrenberg, so I don't have to go to either one of them in Quartzsite. That's me. But I only went to Quiet Times once, so, maybe it was just a bad day. However, the parking lot's awful. I think we had another thing. Oh, pet services, Melanie.
I have never tried any of the pet services there. So I have seen signs though for groomers around. So there are there, but I've never tried them myself. So
I don't have a pet. Melanie has threatened to bring me in for some grooming, but hasn't happened yet, so we can't speak to that. I do know people who have pets who have felt that they needed to travel a considerable distance to find a veterinarian or pet services, but I don't know that myself. I don't have a pet. So you may have to travel. Maybe you can find somebody. These things change all the time, too.
Yeah.
Somebody opens up that wasn't there last year, or somebody closes that was, or whatever. So I don't know. But you may have to travel. There may be limited options there.
Yeah.
And healthcare. If you need health care in Quartzsite, I don't know what the locals do. The nearest hospital is going to be up in Parker, and it's not a real hospital. It's I forget what they call it, critical access or critical care. I don't know. It's one of these hospitals where they have a little ER, and I think a couple observation beds. And if anything is more than you have anything more wrong with you than like the cold, they ship you to another city. So they provide stabilizing treatment. I'm not trying to diss what they do. It's just they're not a big hospital. So if you need like real health care, Quartzsite may not be the place to get it. I think there's a tiny hospital in Blythe, California.
Oh, maybe.
I think. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah,
they may be the same kind of thing.
Bigger city.
But again, anything big, you're not getting it in Blythe. You're going to be going over to like a middle of the state hospital in California, somewhere in Central California, or over to like Phoenix, maybe Yuma. I don't know. You're gonna be traveling away, so just be aware of that if you have, or think you might have major health things. Nobody wants to plan for that sort of stuff, but just be aware of that you're probably a long ways from major health care, at least as far as you are in Pahrump. So in both those places, that's something to be aware of if you do have big medical things. And I usually, at least a few times a year, I hear about somebody has something big happens, and they're a long ways from serious help. So something to be aware of. Not trying to be negative, just be aware of it. All right, bottom line, Quartzsite checks a lot of boxes for snowbirds with long-term lifestyle travelers, just like Pahrump. A little bit different, some different pluses and minuses, but it's the same way that Pahrump does. It checks a lot of boxes. Quartzsite is definitely quirky. I gotta say that about it. And that's one of these people either love or hate. It's unique. Just like Pahrump kind of has its own flavor, Quartzsite definitely has its own flavor, and it's unique. It's sort of a one-of-a-kind thing, too.
Yeah.
It's also, as far as I know, the only quartz site because somebody messed up the name when they registered the town with the post office or the feds or whoever they registered the town with umpty years ago. It was supposed to be Quartzsite like the mineral, and somebody added an S, so we got Quartzsite. So it was a one-of-a-kind, too. What about you? You've been to Quartzsite? What has your experience been? Let us know in the chat if we're still on or in the comments below. If not, all right, see, we missed some comments here. Curtis is mentioning a solar shower. I've done that a bunch of times. That is definitely an option. And if you're like in Pahrump, that's probably the way to go.
Yeah, plenty of sunshine.
You know, whether you have a shower tent or not. I don't, you know. But that's enough of that. Okay. Edward's asking who's got good water. Yeah, Pahrump, again, the place by the Burger King and the pawn shop, I recommend. The Smiths, I recommend. There's a bunch of kiosks there. Quartzsite, a lot of people go to like RV Pit Stop. Hate to get on a tear again, but I've been to RV Pit Stop a few times and will not ever go back again. Ever, ever, ever. When you treat your customers like you hate them and wish they were not there, I'm just going to not go back, okay? There's other places. So I go to Patty's for propane now, and I go to, there's a kiosk off of exit 19 by the Chevron is where I go for water. You dump your quarters in, and I even fill my RV up there. I bring the trailer, I go and dump, then I bring the trailer up there and fill that up there. It takes a few dollars, but you know, it's only a 25-gallon tank, so fill that up. That's how I do it. Or I bring the van in and get 5 gallons at a time and pump it. But either way, that's where I go. There's a bunch of places down there, though. Ehrenberg has a bunch of kiosks. I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of places to go. Those are where I go. Let's see here. Beth has mentioned a Flying J in Ehrenberg.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to go there. I do once in a while still. It's just so crowded. They did improve the parking lot, add some pumps, which helped. I tend to go to the 76. They opened up a few years ago just because it seems like it's usually a little less crowded. But, you know, that can vary depending on the time you're there, I guess. Gregory stops in queue a few times a year. Dub Will, another Northeasterner here, headed down to the RTR in January. His latest internet solution to get a little further out in the Pahrump Quartzsite area. It's generally speaking, if you stick along I-10, it's going to be your best results.
Yeah.
Even on 95, it starts dropping off pretty quick within a few miles. You'll find BLM north and south of Quartzsite where there's plenty of camping and there's just no signal, or very limited. You do have to check the speed if you're looking for internet, because sometimes you'll have like 2 bars of signal and no data at all. So that can vary, and it can vary. I've seen down there, Ehrenberg, for example, classic, where you can you can move 100 feet, and it's a difference between no signal at all or no usable signal and having decent signal. So you just got to get right in the right band. So it does sometimes just take a lot of exploring. You get into January, it's just everything is so congested. You could be in town with 4 or 5 bars of signal, whatever your phone shows. You can be line of sight to a tower and you still can't do anything because it's just crushed with so much traffic, so many people trying to use it. But generally speaking, closer to town is going to be a stronger signal, but spreading along I-10 can help. Ehrenberg can be hit and miss, but it can be better. Yeah, but generally, there's some exceptions, but generally, the further out of town you get going north and south, the more it's going to get iffy. You can get down halfway to Yuma. There's a border checkpoint down by Kofa. There's a border checkpoint, and they've got a tower there. And you'll have great signal and 0 data.
No.
So I don't know what that's about. I don't know if only Border Patrol gets access to the data, or if nobody has data and it's just voice. I don't know, but you'll have a great Verizon signal. There's no... But I was hearing last year AT&T was a little better, and people with Sprint and stuff or T-Mobile were a little better yet than Verizon. None of them were great, but Verizon, we went through a while where Verizon was literally, you couldn't even use it. I was having to go to Parker or Ehrenberg or something when I had to do things online because I literally couldn't even do anything. It was that bad. So that's a consideration if you are a digital nomad and you have to be online to work. Is that it is a problem. Let's see. There we go. Quartzsite's been a big deal for a long time. I remember in the 90s, it was, as a trucker, it was packed then. Yeah, I've only been going there for 7 or 8 years now. Been hearing about it for maybe 10, and it's definitely, it seems like it goes up and down. I don't want to say Quartzsite gets worse every year. It was like for a few years, it's like it did get worse every year. Then it slowed down, and so it seems to go up and down. There was a slowdown with the pandemic. A lot fewer people, including like a bunch of Canadians, couldn't come down. So there was a slowdown that year. So it kind of goes up and down, and it, but it tends to be pretty busy. They're saying they're 31-foot RVs invisible on the road. Yeah, you'd think people see them big rigs, but you know. Let's see. Oh, Gregory is saying Circulation Blythe did well for him as a veterinarian. So, okay, so there you go, everybody. There's one in Blythe, anyways. Yeah, I don't have any pets, so I can't speak to that. I just have heard, people commenting. I'm having a hard time finding somebody. So, okay, Curtis saying Blythe and Parker are both similar. They send people to Palm Springs in California. Okay, I knew it was somewhere in California. I was like, Palm Springs, 29 Palms. I don't know. I was thinking the Palm was in there. So yeah, you may get sent a ways, and it's just, again, I'm not saying do it or don't do it. Just be aware if you do have like big health things that if you're in somewhere like Pahrump or Quartzsite or whatever, you are going to have to travel a ways if you need major medical care. And that can mean a delay in getting help. Paul Q to America saying quiet times people are good people, and during busy times they get the overload syndrome. So that now, yeah, as I said, Melanie had a good experience. I did not. It was January, so I mean it's about as peak as it gets. And in fairness, I probably wouldn't be very happy in any kind of retail operation down there either. But at the same time, you only get one chance to make a first impression, and if you act like you hate your customers, whether they're there to buy propane or water or to do packages or whatever, they might not come back. Especially if there's no parking or if they're backed up into the street to start with, and then you act like you hate them when they actually get in. So, yeah, I lost that one for me. But in fairness to everybody else, I'm not telling you don't go try it out. Maybe you'll have better experience like Melanie did. So, just my experience wasn't good. Let's see. Janice, hello, welcome. Yeah, Verizon may not have kept up there. Yeah, because it seems like some of the others are better. I think, my understanding is only one Verizon tower in Quartzsite, and there's like another one in Ehrenberg. And there was a time, I mean, January was bad like usual. There was a time in December last year, when it was a week or a week and a half where we had no Verizon data, period. And the rumor going around, according to people who said they'd called and got tech support, was that there was some kind of equipment problem that they were working on. But it was a week and a half where nobody had Verizon, period. I mean, you could make phone calls, but you had no data at all for like a week and a half in December. They get that fixed, and it briefly was better, and then we got into January, and it was swamped again. So if you don't need internet, none of that's an issue. Usually, even during January, it's bad if you like do it late at night or early in the morning. It's better. It's not going to be great, but it's better. But if you have to be online for work and stuff, that is something to be aware of when you're thinking about whether to go there, because it's just so crowded that it's overloaded. So, all right. So we've been on for like a while here. I'm getting thirsty. Melanie's probably getting thirsty. We got to get more windows open, because it's in the 80s here today. This is our last day in the 80s. Then it's down in the 70s and cooling down in the evening. Like we're trending down to 50s, 40s, and 30s in the evening. So we'll be moving along soon. Pahrump and Quartzsite are both, of course, on the good possibility list, although there are no plans set in stone yet, because we're nomads. My friend Deborah always liked to say, you can tell when a nomad's coming or going when you see their headlights or taillights. There's something to that. Melanie likes to plan ahead better than I do.
A little bit.
As in, Melanie likes to have paper. She's old school too. She'll have a paper.
I am.
She likes to tell them how you do it. You like to have right.
I like to, if we're going someplace specific, then yeah, I like to have an itinerary of where we're going to stop every night and how long it's going to take us to get there, and yeah.
And when
I
do
like
I
the
start looking for a
numbers.
place to stop?
Hmm?
And when do I start thinking about a place to stop?
I don't know. When he gets tired, somebody, I guess.
When I get tired, yeah. Maybe if I'm doing good, like an hour before I want to stop, I might
he
start thinking about
But he
it.
drinks a lot of coffee, so it's, yeah. Yeah.
Well, anyways, there's no right or wrong there. It's just different styles. And she's not exaggerating. We're as opposite as can be on that. But yeah. So we don't know where we're going. There's a good chance we'll go to Pahrump because we often do. I have every fall except for this last year because I went a different way. I went to Lollapalooza, then to Cocoa Fest at City of Rocks, and then across straight to Quartzsite from there. Actually, I got there a little earlier than normal, right before Thanksgiving. So it was a little different year for me. But normally I go to Pahrump in the fall, and then I go to Quartzsite, then I go back to Pahrump in the spring. There may be other places in the middle, but that's kind of like ends up being my kind of some anchor places I stop. Who the heck knows this year? We don't have to be in Pahrump this year fall, so I don't know if we will or not. We don't have to be in Quartzsite as far as I know this year. Maybe that'll change for work or stuff, but we don't. As far as I know, we don't have to be. So I don't know. You never know where we'll end up. But that's our default thing. If we don't figure something else out, we'll probably go to Pahrump and Quartzsite. And those are some of the reasons why, because they check a lot of boxes for snowbirds and nomads. JH says, sorry if being off topic, just watched your trailer walkthrough. You said you have plenty of headroom. How tall are you? I am 5'11", and I have a few inches to spare. I can even have, yay much room under the air conditioner. So if I was like 6'4", I'd probably be whacking my head. But yeah, it works out pretty well for me being 5'11". See, Gregory saying I use Parker and Mail Center on the way to Walmart. Yeah, that's actually the one I started using down there last year too, Gregory. I used to use the Ehrenberg Mini Mall, and then after that closed down sometime before last winter. It was over the summer maybe or something. I don't even know exactly, but it was before last winter. So they were gone. I think they've reopened, but it's different now. They're not doing mailboxes or showers and stuff anymore, is what I've heard. So yeah, I went to Parker. I have a coworker who uses Parker, so that's why I went there, and I've been happy with them. And then yeah, right close. Basically, I go up there for Walmart. Is my sometimes I'll go to Yuma or sometimes I'll go to Blythe, but generally I go to Parker for supplies anyway. So I do my once a week, once every 2 weeks. I'll check the mail or pick up any packages, do any supplies I need while I'm there, and so that has worked out well for me. And yeah, I don't have the contact information off the top of my head, but it's right on Riverside. It's on Riverside. The main drag where Walmart is and all the fast food stuff and everything there in Parker. So, Edward's saying, I heard Starlink has dropped prices. That would be nice if so. I'll have to look into it again. I've been watching it and I kind of want to try, but I'm also hearing mixed. I'll tell you guys, I'm hearing mixed things about speeds and performance and stuff. And that's to be expected. It's a brand new service. They're still launching satellites. They're not fully rolled out yet. But I don't necessarily want to be the first guy in line who's not getting good service and is paying a lot of money either. So in terms of cell data and what you pay for that, the $135 a month for their roaming plan is reasonable for business use. That's a lot of money for a personal use. For business use, if you're already paying that for cell data, if you're using a lot of cell data, maybe more than that. So you compare it to that, it's not bad. But then it's like $600 or $700 for hardware, and so if you got $600 or $700 in hardware and $135 a month, and it's iffy on the service, that's So I haven't acted on it yet. I'm still thinking about it, but I'm still hearing mixed things. So I have a feeling eventually I'll end up trying it, but I also might give them a little more time to get the kinks worked out. The old thing about you always can tell the pioneers because they're the ones with the arrows in their back. And, I mean, yeah, if you're the first one to try any new technology, there's usually some hiccups. And I haven't been willing to take the plunge on it yet. Again, by next year, maybe things have settled out more. Like, I'd love to go camping at Bighorns more, but there's very few places you can get a usable signal. We get a lot of open sky up there. So it'd be a good candidate for it. The Black Hills, not so much. There's no signal and it's a lot of forest. So it's a lot harder to get the open sky. So Anyway, yeah. Dreamers, they'll be a full-time nomad next May. I get talking faster than I can. Some have I learned from family joke. My father and my grandfather used to say, "Got my tongue in front of my eye tooth and couldn't see a word I was saying." All right, so there'll be a full-time nomad next May, but plan on being there in January. Hope to meet some new friends. Rent priced me out of sticks and bricks. Man, that is a growing thing. It's just getting so insane. And every once in a while, I think, yeah, I just think about it. I'm like, I'm mind blown how much rent has gone up. It was too much when I got into the nomad thing full time 8 years ago, and it's only gotten so much worse since then. I can't imagine having to pay rent again these days, with as bad as it is, and it just keeps going up and up and up. So that is a huge problem, and yeah. We'll probably, good chance we'll be there sometime in January anyways. I don't know if we'll be there all January, but there's a lot of people there, and you will definitely not have a problem meeting people. If you want to meet people, my recommendation is always go to some meetup or another, or several, because that people are expecting to meet people there. But otherwise, just take a walk, and if somebody's friendly and wave back and start a conversation, you'll meet lots of people. My advice always is if somebody looks like they don't want to talk or they turn away when you're walking by, don't bug them, because they're, you know, maybe it's just a bad time, or maybe they don't want to meet people. There are people who are nomads they're nomads because they want to be alone, and they're not really wanting to be social. But look, those standard social signals. Somebody calls out, waves, looking friendly. Maybe they want to chat. But it's definitely not hard to meet people. And myself, I'm an introvert, and I have more close friends since becoming a nomad than I ever had in my life. And everybody I know says the same thing. You just meet so many people and develop different levels of friendship. So I assure you'll be able to meet your tribe. And the funny thing is, like in all of life, I guess, but especially the difference here is you're not limited to people by geography, and you're not limited to people by coworkers or people you went to school with. You can gravitate towards people you connect with, who you actually get along with. And so, there are people that you won't get along with, and there are people that you will. And I think that makes it easier to find your tribe out here. Mm. It's been my experience, at least. What about you?
Like-minded. Yeah.
Like-minded. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, guys. Thanks for joining. Oh, Curtis saying they're going to miss Pahrump this fall. That's what happened to me last year, Curtis. I actually did plan to get there eventually, but I went to Lollapalooza down in Abilene, and then I went to Cocoa Fest in City of Rocks, between Deming and Silver City, and then I was gonna go to Pahrump from there, and work stuff brought me straight to Quartzsite. So, and Pahrump was kind of out of the way, so without having a compelling reason to go, I just, didn't end up there. But I had planned on it. So, Edward was saying, "Good, I caught this live from way down upon the Suwannee River," and Lindy and Lovey. Hi, everybody. Hello there, and again, thanks everybody for joining. We've been on for, oh my gosh, 102, going on 103 minutes. So we're going to wrap this up. Appreciate everybody joining. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button already, please, there we go, get that off in front of my face. Please hit the thumbs up button, give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We're trying to keep out plenty of, wow. We're trying to keep out regular, consistent content related to travel. That's something that's helpful information. Sometimes it's travel news. Sometimes it's just great scenery from places we visit. Sometimes it's me being awkward and stumbling over my own words while Melanie smiles and laughs at me quietly, discreetly, and has something insightful to say. But anyways, travel content. So subscribe if you're not already. We'll catch you in the next video. We will be back on Friday for sure with a live stream. Hopefully I'll have something. I have some news stuff maybe, or other things coming up this week, but definitely Friday with the live streams. To watch for that. I have a new book I'm trying to get finished, and we'll hopefully be debuting that and talking about it and sharing some of that content on Friday. The plan is we're going to share all the content of the book for free in live streams coming up in the next week and a half. So you don't have to buy the book if you don't want. You can tune in and watch the lives and get it all for free, or you can, a few bucks, you can get a PDF if you want it. All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. We'll catch you in the next one.